Okay, it's 4 o'clock, so I'm just going to go ahead and start the webinar. Welcome, everybody. Um, I'm Sofia Ramirez, and I'm the director for the Oxnard site of No Limits. We have Oxnard, Las Vegas, and Culver City right now. And Michelle, our director, wanted to make sure that our center continued providing the after-school services that we've always done. And so 5 weeks ago, I did this exact training with our teachers, and they've been providing remote learning opportunities with the students for 4 weeks now. No Limits is also offering science classes, reading time. Go ahead and visit No Limits webpage, and you'll see all the great activities we have planned for the students, obviously through remote learning. And so Michelle is passionate about our students with hearing loss, and she wanted as many students as she could. So she asked me to have a webinar and invite as many deaf and hard of hearing teachers that wanted to come so that they can also learn the strategies that we learned, that we've been implementing at No Limits. So welcome. I hope you and your loved ones are in good health and continue to be in good health. And let's get started. So all of the resources I'm showing today can be used with any platform. I personally prefer Zoom. At No Limits, we use Zoom. I understand that many school districts have forbidden the use of Zoom, and that's okay. The one feature that Zoom has that many of the other platforms do not have is that you can share remote control, which means you can play games with your students where they can click and you're both doing it at the same time because you're sharing your screen and access to your screen. So that's why I personally love Zoom. It's more interactive that way, but I know that many of the schools are either using Google Classroom or WebEx, I'm not sure, but that's the one feature that Zoom has that other platforms don't. But if you don't know how to use Zoom and you're completely new to Zoom, I have a YouTube channel and I have a tutorial on how to use Zoom. And it's pretty long, but the first 4.5 minutes or so talk about how to set up your pages for security, for security purposes. So waiting rooms, the importance of making sure that you have a waiting room to let people in. And the rest of it talks about how to do the screen sharing, the grouping. I know that with our older students, we can separate them into groups for small group discussions. So I have all of that on that tutorial. So we're not going to spend time today on using Zoom. I may talk a little bit about it, but for the most part, we're going to move right into resources. Okay, so for those of you that were here yesterday, the next couple of slides might be a little bit of a repeat, but that's okay, and welcome back. These are some tips that I strongly recommend for teachers who are new to remote learning. You have to make sure that your background is plain or simple, not destructive, not distracting, not cluttered. Avoid beds, personal items as much as you can. I know that not everybody has an office or a plain wall that they can use, but there's also virtual backgrounds on Zoom. So really try to make it as non-cluttered or at less as non-cluttered as possible, because I don't know if you've been watching shows that are being broadcast from people's homes. You always notice what people have in the background and you're so distracted by it that you don't focus on what's being said. So really try to avoid those distractions. Make sure that the lighting is perfect. I know a lot of times teachers like to sit in front of a window with the window behind them and then their face is shadowed out. And it's really important for our students to see our faces if they're reading lips, for pragmatic skills, social skills, so they can see our facial features. You will also need to make sure that you have a big space for taking notes. I take a lot of notes when I'm doing my lessons of what the children are, or what the students are doing, what they had difficulty with, what they struggled with. So always have room for your computer, your microphone. I have a special microphone to make sure that I magnify my voice, but if you don't, that's okay. Just make sure that you have space, ample space on your workspace. And then we're still working professionals, so try to avoid showing up to your lessons in your pajamas or anything inappropriate. And of course, keep the distractions to a minimum, pets, visitors, loud voices, etc. But you might hear my dog, so I know it's not always possible when we're working from home. So here are some of the guidelines that I follow. I kind of changed them a little bit for the middle school and high school. So I always say start with an opener, really just to make sure that the student starts off engaged. So you can use an interesting picture or a headline. There are some funny headlines that kids might find ridiculous, or headlines about coronavirus that sometimes they're meant to really entice people to click, and then you click on it and it's not that big of a deal. And so really having, or a funny picture, I know that there's one with animals that they're just hilarious. And so really reading your students and figuring out what would entice them to start talking and to open up. Always do a hearing device check. They're older, so they should be able to do it independently, but they're also older, and we know that sometimes they refuse to wear both implants or both hearing or any hearing aids at all and rely on lip reading. So definitely a 2 to 3 minute check. And then establish your expectations, right? This is, I'm going to ask you to stay here. I'm going to ask you not to be on your phone unless, we're going to use it for the lesson. Just really establishing them with your students. They're older, they understand better. It's easier to really establish those guidelines with them. And I always try to include brain breaks, rewards, or fun consequences, really just to encourage engagement in the students. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. The lesson plan should include literacy. I know that a lot of our students tend to struggle with reading, and they tend to be a year or more behind on literacy. So always include something that requires them to read. And don't forget to do articulation, to work on articulation, but try to embed it in your lesson. Our older students do not like to do targeted articulation work. So definitely work on that, include that in your lesson plan. And make sure your objectives are clear. So make sure that the student knows what your target is, what your goal is for the day. Our students are older and they understand targets and goals, and they'll be able to follow. Give students time to ask questions, or assign homework. So I always try to make sure it's something fun or interactive that they can do, or maybe, and I'll show you some of our resources, you can assign those. And then also give students time to ask questions or discuss further, or maybe just some small talk at the end. But always remember your wait time. I know our students are older and we kind of expect more from them. They understand more, but they still need that wait time. So make sure that you always have that, and make sure that you avoid downtime. So I always say, be prepared with other things if the student is not interested in what you're working on. So I think I had a question. Oh, okay. And will I be doing the K-5 webinar again? I'm not sure. I think it depends on interest, but we'll see. If I get enough interest, maybe I will do it again. I did record the one from yesterday. So hopefully that I'll be able to share that, but it just depends on interest. Okay. And Loom, yes, somebody brought up Loom yesterday. So when we're talking about middle school and high school, we have to remember our child development. And I know it's difficult for us as adults to remember when we were teenagers, but it's so important to remember that they're pretty much back to where they were when they were 2 years old. Remember those terrible twos? So they're really trying to assert their independence, right? All this time they've been interdependent, right? On us to support them, their parents, their classroom teachers. I mean, they've had a lot of support. And now they're trying to gain their independence from their parents, right? They're trying to gain their independence from us, telling them what to do all the time. And so that's why I believe in giving teenagers options, giving them the decisions, asking them what they're interested in learning, and then whatever your language goals or your Arctic goals are, embedding them in what you're teaching them. They're also egocentric, right? they are so focused on themselves, and that's why they're so insecure, how they look, what they're wearing. They think everyone's looking at them. They think everyone's focused on what they're wearing that day, their hearing aids, their cochlear implants. They don't understand that we aren't focused on that, or that other students aren't focused on that. And so we need to be sensitive to that as well. So understanding that right now what they're going through is a lot of insecurity. And then we also need to know that they do understand the big picture, right? They understand the consequences of their actions. They understand what can happen, but because their prefrontal cortex hasn't fully matured, they don't always act on it, right? There could be a quiz the next day that they need to study for, and they know they have to study for it. And a friend can invite them to the movies, and they'll go to the movies anyway, because they're just not there yet. Even though they understand the consequences, they're just not there yet. So, just making sure. Okay, let's keep moving. And then, one big thing that to remember too with teenagers is that to us, maybe it may not seem like a big deal, but to them it is. So we need to always remember that their feelings, even though to us we're like, what's the big deal? But to them it is. So we always need to keep that in mind. And if we understand all of this about teenagers, we can really form a bond or a good relationship with them so that we can work together. And I don't know about you, but I've dealt with some very difficult teens that I had to figure out what way to get into their circle, to be a trusted person that they can talk to and come to. And so really getting to know your teens, they're on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I've had two students from the same household raised the same way, and one of them hated his cochlear implants, was very upset that he had a hearing loss, and his sister didn't care. And so we really need to get to know our students well before we can work with them. So anyway, this could be a whole webinar, but we don't have time for that. So let's jump right into our resources. Before that, let me answer some of these questions. Will you be able to share yesterday and today's recording with us? Yes. So I'm probably going to end up putting it either on my YouTube channel, or if we can, if there's space, on the No Limits website, but if not, on the YouTube channel for sure. Okay. So, oops. Okay, we're going to start with some items that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers, and we'll start with this one, the social inferences. So again, one of the biggest things that we struggle with our kiddos is really their social skills, and sometimes their lack of social skills, because students with a hearing loss tend to be very literal and they miss all those social skills. And so it's really important for us to teach them social inferences, idioms, perspective, right? Theory of mind, understanding that people see things differently. So this is a great resource that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers, and Teachers Pay Teachers is amazing. I will always say support teachers. However, with that being, sorry. I'm going to repeat myself because I didn't realize that I didn't have the captions on, and I apologize. Teachers Pay Teachers, social inference is so important for students. I got this from Teachers Pay Teachers. It's free, but I recommend that you always support Teachers Pay Teachers. So we do need to teach our children, our students, social inferences. And so this one is just one that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers, again, free. This one is a short passage about a friend that picks a fight, right? It's very short. It's a few sentences long. This teacher provided all of these discussion questions that you can ask based on that short passage, right? There's so much language just from a short passage, and the pictures that are provided. She also provides sentences and asks to underline idioms. Trembled, what does that mean? Look it up in the dictionary. I mean, there's so many options with this resource, right? Answer these questions: who, what happened, where, feeling, cause and effect. I mean, it's pretty extensive. Obviously, you don't have to do them all at once. I always tell teachers, it doesn't mean you have to do everything at once. If you do every single one of these sheets at once with your students, you will lose them. So really choose one of them or two of them that you want to focus on. But this could be a lesson for, a couple of sessions. What else does she offer? So there are some possible answers. And so this is a really good lesson working on social inferences, idioms, etc. So one of the things that I like to do with my students is to make sure that they're always engaged, because, you could be face to face with the teenager, but they're looking down at their phone. And so one of the things that I always introduce to them is this wheel. It's called Wheel Decide. And you can go in on Wheel Decide and change your options. But I always say, hey, if you don't answer my question correctly, you're gonna have to spin the wheel. And so if you have Zoom, you can share your screen, obviously, but you can also give control. And so they'll be able to spin the wheel on their device. So I'm gonna spin it. Let's say we gave it to a student. And so dance your favorite dance move. I have 10, do 10 push-ups, do 10 jumping jacks, show me the last picture on your phone. What else do I have? I think show me like a hidden talent. You can change whatever you want to use, but I think this is always fun for the students. I know that some of your older students may not want to dance their favorite move, but you know your students best. Definitely choose things that you know that they would be willing to do. And obviously, we also have to be willing to do it. So if you're playing a game, or if you can't answer a question they ask, say, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna have to spin the wheel too. Really just finding a way to bond with your students. So another item that I found, I just always wanna make sure to have the closed captioning up. Okay, so here, this is great for social language. I know that our students, well, typically hearing children get social language from overhearing it from their peers. And as we know, our students really struggle with overhearing in middle school and high school because it's so noisy. And so sometimes they struggle with the formal and informal language, and really knowing when to use which language. They struggle with this. And so I really like this. I also found this on Teachers Pay Teachers. It's an interactive PDF. So let's start with the first one. Here it is. Okay, so change your message. So here's the formal language, and she has the option. You can choose to change informal to formal, but I'm just gonna start from formal to informal. In my opinion, that is not the correct answer. So that's considered formal language. So you can ask your student, what would you say, or how would you change this to informal language? And so you have the student click, and it says, that's not right. Well, maybe the student says that, like, do you ever hear your friends say, that's not right? Or I don't think so. And so really feeding them that language that they should normally be overhearing, but may not be overhearing in school. And really that requires us as teachers to make sure that we're up to date with the latest social language that's being used among students. So I've had to learn about TikTok, and I've had to learn about other things that students are doing, right? That I used to call Instagram Insta, and I guess that's not what it's being called anymore. It's called the gram, apparently. So really being aware of what's around, because we're the ones teaching our students this language, because again, they cannot hear it. So this is, again, another resource. It's interactive, so you can do the screen share and the remote control. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, let me answer questions. Sarah, I've been wondering the same thing. What was Sarah's question? Did somebody answer it? Okay. To have streamer captioning, do you have to share desktop or web page? So Streamer, I am using Streamer for the captioning right now, and it's free for 30 days. And then after 30 days, I believe it's $9.99 a month for one room, which allows one person. You do have to have that that web page open. So I went ahead and I always make sure it's on top so that you can see it. So I'm trying to be respectful and stop talking when it's not there. But yes, you always have to have a browser open and going. So I know that people have recommended others. Right now I'm using Streamer. Okay. the next one, the next resource, I'm going to go straight into my resources with that I found online to work with our students. So I'm going to start with this. This I also found on Teachers Pay Teachers for free. It's a COVID-19 lesson, how viruses make us sick. And so this one is a lesson that's shared on Google Drive. So if you use Google Drive with your students, or you can share this with your student Google Drive, it doesn't have to be on share screen. This is a good lesson to have. It asks questions. I know, I wonder what causes the disease. But what I like about this lesson is that the teacher that created this inserted video links. So she embedded video links in here. So here's one video link, and it looks like it's from Edpuzzle, which we'll talk about. It looks like there's questions in the video. Here's another video link that talks about cells to help the students understand COVID, because I know right now they're probably very curious about it. Okay, the next one. This I also found on Teachers Pay Teachers. So this teacher created a Google Earth lesson. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on it. Sometimes the Google Earth lessons take a little bit to load, so we're just gonna go ahead and wait. This Google Earth lesson is about these lions. And so what I love about Google Earth is it has so many options to zoom down onto where the lions are, where they live. And this teacher has embedded videos as well in her lesson. And so this is great for students to read. I always recommend teachers to do co-reading with the students, because, or share pair reading, because I know that sometimes our kids get tired of reading so much. So I always recommend it. While it's loading, let me see, there's one question. There's a very helpful site on Facebook you can join, DHH during COVID-19 is length, these challenges with distance and teaching different platforms. Yes, unfortunately, Zoom does not have closed captioning services. It always has to be a third party, or you assign someone to do it for you. So yeah. Okay, so I'm waiting for Google Earth to load. It's taking its time. We can just move on to another Google Earth lesson that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers. This one is about these turtles. And again, it's the same thing. You click on it and it takes you to the Google Earth lesson. And here we are, we're in the Google Earth lesson. So again, a video is embedded. It tells you where that national park is. If you turn it off, it just shows you on the map where it is. You turn it on and it shows you which part is the map. But what I like about it is the reading. So you read about them. It tells you when to watch the video. Talks about the technology. The next page talks about using GPS collars. And the beauty of it is it tells you the name of the lion and where they are. So if you just want to know where this lion is, you turn off all the others and you'll find out he's roaming around there. And so this is, I really love Google Earth lessons. So definitely Google Earth lessons are great. You can find them on Teachers Pay Teachers. So this one was another one of the Google Earth lessons. And so some of those videos that were embedded from Edpuzzle. And I love using Edpuzzle because Edpuzzle is a one-stop shop. So you've got videos from YouTube, Khan Academy, all of these platforms, all their videos are here. The beauty about Edpuzzle is that you can find it based on your age group. So let's go to high school. I'm gonna go straight to special education because that's usually the only place where I can find social emotional items. So behavioral skills, college special ed, social skills, life skills, and you can click on any of these. So I'll just click on social skills, and it talks about what is love, empathy, and what some of these videos, what they offer, let me see if this one has it. No, this one doesn't. So some of these videos have stops in the middle of the video to ask comprehension questions or discussion questions, and I really like that. So I'm gonna try to find one. I'm gonna assume it's probably not gonna let me in the social skills, but possibly in science. So let me go into chemistry, the atomic structure, level 3 to 4. Let's see if this one has quizzes. Oh, there they are. So you can tell it has a quiz because it's got the stops in the middle. So what will happen is when you get to that point in the video, it'll stop. So I'm going to stop the video, but it'll have questions and the questions will pop up on the side. I'm sorry, I have something blocking. The questions will pop up right here on the side, and you can choose to skip the question or watch the video without the questions. You have a lot of options, but what I love about Edpuzzle is that you can also edit the video and change it to your own questions and put your own voice on it if you wanted to. I'm not going to show you how to do that because that would be a whole tutorial in and of itself, but you can also assign videos. So these are those homework assignments that I was telling you about, that you can assign these interactive videos for your students if it's related to what you were talking about. So I like Edpuzzle. That's another great resource. The next one is Newsela. So Newsela is a wonderful resource for our students. So remember I was telling you that our students are trying to be independent and trying to find themselves. And right now, I know a lot of kids, teenagers like Harry Potter, but many of our students that are deaf and hard of hearing have a difficult time with fantasy. And really most teenagers really enjoy nonfiction. So biographies, really reading that relates to them. And our students, because of social media, are very socially aware now. So they know a lot about what's going on in the world. And so I love Newsela because you can talk about what is going on in the world, right? And so it has all of these great options. So arts, health, you can choose by age, you can choose by topic. Oh, it has a great distance learning option here. I'm gonna go ahead and click on it and see what happens. I think I may have clicked on it earlier. No. So here we go. And so again, over here, you're going to see the grade levels. Once it loads, you're going to see the, okay, perfect. Elementary, middle school, or high school. And so again, different topics that they can talk about. And so I'm going to go to one that I already opened earlier because I liked it. So this one talks about a robotic nurse that's helping in Italy. Coronavirus patients. And so if you look up here, if you look up here, you'll notice you can change the reading level, right? So I'm going to bring this up so that you can see the text, and I'm going to change it to the maximum reading level. And so you notice there are more words. It's going to use more technical terms, and you can adjust it based on your students. The other thing is the quiz also changes. So you can assign this, have the student read it. They can have a write-up, or they can take a quiz, and the quiz will also change. So because it's at maximum, this is for grades 9 to 10. If I was to change this to the lowest possible, the quiz now changes for a third grader. So I love Newsela, and I think it's a great resource for you to use with your students. Newsela also has, you do need a school membership, like a school email, to be able to access it. However, it breaks it up for you. You can have subjects, you can have your own content, you can have binders for each of the kids. It's a great resource. Let's see, I think I had one more story in Newsela. Oh yes, so they also have social emotional learning. And so here they have a ton of videos. They have lesson plans if you want to use them. They talk about self-awareness, videos to go with self-awareness, emotions, mindfulness, identity, and self-concept. So a lot of the things that we need for our high school students. Okay, so any questions? No questions. Okay, so the next resource, and please let me know if I'm moving too fast, but I figure I'm going to send all of these to you. I want to do a quick cover and then move on to all the other ones. Tate Kids. I love Tate Kids. If you have students that love art, love painting, I noticed that a lot of my students who are deaf and hard of hearing, because they are so visual, really love art and painting. And so Tate Kids, I love it because it focuses on artists, right? Current artists, artists from the past. It has these great, so I'm going to go to the games and quizzes. Where you can discuss artists. So for example, which artist should design your bedroom? Which artist, oh, here we go. Guess the missing details to work on, really focusing on memory. art parts, art gallery challenge. It has a lot of really great things. And if you're covering a certain artist, it also has a make section where you can give them art projects that they can do at home. And so I paint like Turner. So let me click on that one. And it tells you it's going to take an hour, and it teaches you techniques to paint like him, start a sketchbook, and it gives you tips, samples of Turner's work. I mean, it's great to just have them learn about artists, create your own watercolors, paint a self-portrait. So yeah, these are great. Oh, look, and it even allows you to download a picture frame for your portrait. So again, just a really great activity if your kids like art. Google also has an arts and culture. So these are great. Who invented the toothbrush? I mean, this would be great for just a discussion with your students. Our teens really enjoy talking about that stuff, right? The roots of ramen, where did it come from? They may not even know what ramen is. So we talk about ramen, where did it come from? I think I really like this page too. It has a lot of really great, great videos and resources and ideas to talk about with your students. So next we're gonna go to one of my favorite, which is boom cards. And I know a lot of teachers who are familiar with boom cards think it's for younger students, but actually you can use boom cards for older students as well. Right now, boom cards is giving you, I think through June free, I am not sure, but you sign up as an educator. So you can go to the store and it tells you how much money it takes to buy points. But just like teachers pay teachers, these amazing professionals have given us a lot of freebies. So I'm gonna go to decks so that I can see the decks. And then I'm gonna come here and you can choose by subject or by grade. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose 10th grade. And I love using science because our kids really enjoy science. And you can click. And so it tells you how many points they are, but you can come up here and go price from low to high. And obviously the freebies will come up first, right? Intro to genetics, naming compounds, chemical bonding, etc. So I have a couple of my own boom cards up. So this is hypothetical social scenarios. Now these are just really discussion questions. These boom cards don't require a yes or no answer. If you notice, once you click yes, you go to the next question. It's just a hypothetical. It's not really that interactive, but it's great to start discussions. This one, however, is an interactive one. So here we're going to talk about what kind of figurative language is this? I had the most horrible nerves in the world before my play began. Is it a metaphor? Is it a simile? And this is interactive. So if you click it and it's wrong, it'll tell you the wrong answer. And so this is a good opportunity for you to give remote control to the students in Zoom. So I really like this. Another one is if you're doing science. I love science, with working on science with my kids. So you know, if you're talking about chemical or physical reaction, is cooking an egg a chemical or physical reaction? Oh, nope, you're wrong. It's a chemical reaction, and you can talk about it. Why wasn't it a chemical reaction? So somebody had emailed me and said, oh, you know, I have some students that are leaving high school and going into college. Do you have anything for them? And so I'm from California, so No Limits is in California. And so what there is in California, and I'm sure anybody can use it, but it's this, this is called California Career Zone. And so the students register, and I'm sure anybody can use it. I don't think you have to be from California. But what it offers is a test, like it's sort of like a personality test, but it helps guide students to their strengths, right? And then really tells them what kind of professions they can take or jobs, or to help guide them to where they would work best. It helps develop a budget to make sure your choices can support your plan. And so I really think that this is a good resource for students that are leaving high school and going into college. I think that it's a scary time. I know that I was talking to one of my colleagues who's a deaf and hard of hearing teacher, but is also in a counseling program to be a school counselor. And I think that's great because we need them. But she was saying a lot of times our students, tend to not have the confidence to go to college and not be aware of what's available for them because they think my only goal right now is to graduate high school, you know, because that has been a goal all along. But also just teaching our students to have that confidence to know that, yes, you can go to college, you can graduate high school, go to college, and there's resources out there for you. So every university has on their website what they offer in terms of supports for students who have special needs, who have a hearing loss, so CART systems, etc. I always like to emphasize to the kids that when you go to college, it might just be easier than in high school because you will get CART and they will give you the notes. So you're going to make a lot of friends in college because everybody's going to ask you for the notes. So, I mean, there's always try to have a positive light when talking to our kids. Oh, I'm using Streamer. So Streamer is from Supporting Success for Students with Hearing Loss. And I love them. They're great. I try to support them. I always try to support fellow deaf and hard of hearing teachers and fellow teachers. So I'm only doing the trial. So I don't have the full version. My trial ends after 30 days. And then I believe it's $9.99. Okay, so that is California Career Zone. So what I did is I put together a sample lesson plan for, I would say middle school, young middle school. I didn't do anything in high school, but I can show you what I did. And usually what it takes is really doing a lot of research and making sure that you're finding the items you need online, teachers pay teachers, etc. This lesson plan didn't take me too long to put together, but I can show you. So I did a lesson plan on the water cycle. And so I chose this video from Ed Puzzle. Let me just scoot this out of the way. And then I'm gonna play a little bit for you. I did not enhance the audio before I shared my screen. So if you're using Zoom, don't forget to enhance the audio or share your computer audio so that your students hear it just like you would. Somebody also asked me about choosing to also enhance the video. I never share my full screen, so I don't share my enhance the video, but if you do, by all means, absolutely, because you don't want it to look too pixelated. But I usually just show the little video like this to my students. I don't know why, but that's just something I do. So I'm gonna play just a little bit of it.
Your team's so ready for the big game tomorrow? Yeah, we're ready. But look at the field. There are puddles everywhere. Come on, don't let a little precipitation get you down. What? Precipitation. It's another word for rain. Actually, for any form of water that falls from the sky. You mean like snow, sleet, or hail? Yup, they're precipitation too. Well, if this precipitation doesn't stop soon, we'll be playing slip and slide instead of soccer tomorrow. Don't worry, RJ. Tomorrow's supposed to be hot and sunny. Those puddles will be history by game time. How can you be sure?
Okay, so it did this by itself. So it's going straight into the questions. So what it does is it pauses and then it says, name 3 types of precipitation. So here's a great opportunity for you to give remote control and have the student type in the answers. If you think that your student isn't ready for that, you can have them skip it. You can rewatch that section to have them answer. If they didn't get it right, you can have them spin the wheel. Really just try to make it as interactive as you can for your students. Again, an Ed Puzzle, you can, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip this, but I am gonna stop this. You can edit, you can copy, or you can assign it. So I could choose not to show this video to my students and maybe assign it ahead of time, have them watch it, have them answer, and then I could look at their answers and I'll be able to tell if I need to review or if they were understood what was happening. So also on Teachers Pay Teachers, I found this great resource. So learning about the water cycle, so a different way to look at it. And I believe this teacher also embedded in her lesson plan. So read about the water cycle, watch the water cycle videos. Yeah, so I think she did embed videos. Again, evaporation, collection, the water cycle. I believe this is her video. You can watch another video about the water cycle, what the clouds are made for, and then a discussion question, fill in the blanks. This is great because again, it's interactive. You won't need Zoom for this because it is a Google Doc. If you're both on it at the same time, the student can drag it over to where it belongs. Oops, that's the wrong one. I saw raindrops and I thought that's precipitation. Okay, here you have it. So again, it's interactive. You're talking about precipitation. There's a lot to discuss with the water cycle. And then, you know, after working so hard and learning so much about it, hey, let's bring a boom card in here. Let's play with boom cards and have the student fill this in. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this in, and hopefully I remember this. My water cycle, so here's the runoff, condensation, and you can be discussing this with your students as you go along. Oh, of course, I did get it wrong. Is this it? Miss Sophia shouldn't be teaching water cycle. And then this one is different, right? This one is no longer drag. The students type in the answers. And so this is just another way that you can use all of these resources for one lesson. I could also go into Newsella and assign maybe an article about what's happening to the cycle with global warming, right? So there's so many ways that you can use all of your resources for whatever your lesson is. And this, I just happen to choose the water cycle because I really like science, but you can also assign maybe a science experiment related to the water cycle, right? Pour some water in a glass, cover it with a plate out in the sun, and see if you see condensation, evaporation. What do you see when, you know, you take a cold glass of or a cold soda out of the fridge? You start seeing that. So there are many opportunities to make it engaging and interactive for your students. I mentioned the wheel already. So the last resource that I want to show you, it's going to require participation from everyone. So there are no questions. Perfect. So it's called Kahoot. And I don't know if many of you use Kahoot, but if you grab your phones and go to kahoot.it, I'm going to give you all some time. While you're going onto your phone, kahoot.it, I'm going to have a live question and answer session tomorrow on Instagram. If anybody tries these at home and has more questions, I feel like I'm repeating myself because of yesterday's class, but many of these resources normally do cost money. However, right now, because of quarantine, they're letting us use it for free for a while. Oh, I had a question, but I think somebody answered it. So they're letting us use it for free for a long time. So this is a great opportunity. Some of these, though, I will continue to use. Boom cards I'll continue to use because I think you can do that with your students as well, even if you're in face-to-face with them. What is our Instagram? So it's going to be, I believe, on the No Limits Instagram page. I'm ashamed to say this when I'm sitting here talking about how we need to stay relevant with our teens, but I do have an Instagram account. I just don't use it. So I know, practice what you preach. Okay, so if everyone is on kahoot.it, we're going to play this game. And I created this quiz in Kahoot. And it has very many options. I think I only chose multiple choice and true false questions, but you can also do like a puzzle. There's many ways to answer. So we're gonna play the classic way. Oh, one more question. Thank you. Yes, it's Pacific time. Yes, because we're in California. It'll be at 4. Okay, so I'm gonna play the classic game. and ready to join. So go to kahoot.it, and this is the game pin. So there are 49 of us. So once we get close to 40, we can start. So we got one. Again, you can run this online, right? You can have, if you have multiple students in your class at once, you can run that, you can do this online, right? And have them each on their phone. And if you're giving students an opportunity to use their phone, they're gonna love it. The other thing you can do, in Zoom, is those breakout rooms. Those breakout rooms are pretty fun. We've used it before, and because it's so hard for our students to hear each other in a big group, breakout rooms are great, and you can choose to break out into groups of 2, groups of 3, or you can let it automatically break out a group. So I have a question here. Do I have to create an account to play? No, you don't. Just go to kahoot.it and enter the that game pin, 8717766. So breakout rooms are great. Another question, something that I covered yesterday, which our students may not need it so much, but I know that some families don't have internet at home. On my YouTube channel, I also have a video teaching parents how to use the hotspot on their phone for the students' laptop, not laptops, for the iPads. And I will be putting one up for their actual laptops. And I know yesterday somebody said that they weren't able to share or give control to their students through Zoom, but sometimes that's a security feature, and I will be putting a video up on how to disable that to allow you to share your screen. Okay, so woohoo. Okay, so Kahoot is great because it's a quick question and answer session, and you can choose how much time to give the students to answer. So I'm gonna turn off the music because, oh, well, I guess you can't. Let me see. I would love to turn it off. You can just mute, I suppose. Oh, there it is. Oh, good. Because that background noise isn't great for our students, and I really want to make sure to be respectful of our students. So I think 36 players, nobody else is joining in. That's okay. We can go ahead and start playing. All right, let's start. So what I do have to tell you that this is tricky, and your kids will love this, but this is tricky for me because there's different colors and questions, and you have to answer quick. And so it really makes it fun for the students. All right, we're ready to start. First question, it's a webinar quiz. Ready? What resource is this lesson from? Go ahead and click. So as you notice, it's showing who's answering at what time. We're going there. Once everyone answers, or after the 20 seconds, it stops. So we're running out of time. So 24 of you got it right. And so it tells you who's ahead. And you can look on your phone. It should be telling you what place you're in. So if you're in first place, congratulations. Next. Oh, let's see. It's telling us who's in first place. So this is like a lot of fun. It's very interactive for your students. Okay, this is a true-false question. This resource is from Newsella. So it'll either end after the 20 seconds or once everyone has answered. True. Okay. So 29 of you got it correct and 9 of you got it incorrect. But the beauty is it's not shaming anyone until we get to the leaderboard. So here we go. Okay. Ms. Liv has taken, and then I like it because it doesn't immediately jump to the next question. So you can stop and discuss, right? And say, oh, remember Newsella? And I could even go back and show you where it was. I can, I think that was the first page I used, which of course I got rid of it. So that's what I love about Kahoot. Okay, so the next question. What did I like about this lesson? Me. So this question is about me. What did I tell you I liked about COVID-19? So what was confusing to me is all the shapes and the colors. It was difficult when I play this with kids, it's hard for me to get these answers. So yeah, it had the embedded videos. I love that about that lesson, right? Because I'm all about interactive and fun. So perfect. Let's see our leaderboard. Wow, Liv, check you out. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. This is a true or false. This came from Ed Puzzle. True or false? So I can tell you're getting faster at this game. So we have a few more people left to answer. Oh, time's up. False, that's right. I got that from Boom Cards. So that was from Boom Cards. And the leader is it still you, Liv? Wow, I think she's played this before. Okay, and then the final question. What 3 resources did I use for this lesson? So this one's gonna take a little bit longer, right? Because you have to look and read and then match the color, and yeah, it can be tricky. But you can make this as difficult or as simple as you need to, differentiating for your students. Oh, that was tough, right? I used Edpuzzle for the video, Teachers Pay Teachers for the Google document, and the Boom Cards to finish. So that was a tricky question. I know, I kind of intended it that way. So let's see, here's the podium. All right, first place, second place, and, oh no, second place, third place, and first place. I don't think we're not gonna be surprised. That's right, Liv. Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a nice weekend. Take care.